Welcome back to another edition of the Coaches Show as we recap what a homecoming it was in the Forest. Fan fest, all the 9 yards as the Foresters take down the Knox Prairie Fire, a shutout style of victory. As I'm joined with the head coach of the Foresters, Jim Catanzaro. Well, Coach Cat, let's go back to the start of the day. Pete Scafidi, recognized, just talk about what he means to this Forester football program and just the way that day started.
Yeah, one of our former team captains who led us to the first conference championship that I was a part of here in 2012. Pete was a extremely humble leader, somebody that our players at that time rallied around, one of the hardest working guys in the room. And so to see him again and see so many of his teammates come back for the day. It wasn't just that Pete was back. There's a lot of guys from that 2012, 2011 range when I first took over the program. Guys were dedicated to the program and put the hard work in as we were losing more games than we were winning and turning it around. Huge symbolism to me. But seeing some of those guys back, Victor Gabardi's back here with his fiance, Kevin Davis is back here, our All-American wide receiver. Just a large number of guys coming back to support Pete in his induction, and I was really stoked to see all of them. And there were a ton of other alums too, but Pete is one of those guys that will go down as, early on as we were turning this program around. One of the foundational blocks that did that. So glad to see him enshrined into the Hall of Fame, and it was great to get to spend time with him and his family as well.
So many special moments as we captured the entire day, but the Forester Walk, something we don't always talk about, but this one I think was a real special one.
Yeah, I haven't seen the South Campus quad pack like that in a very long time. It was, I'd venture to guess by some of the video that I saw, 8 or 9 deep, lining the area where we do our Forester Jacks, and it was loud. Our recruits that were here were taking notice of that one for sure. It slowed us down a little bit because there were so many high fives being given to our players that I think that it got kind of bottlenecked a little bit. But I'll take that. I'll take that kind of support and energy. And then just leading into the parent tailgate lot area, that was packed in ways that I probably haven't seen in a long time. I think I talked to Coach Slots after the game, and we think this is, in the 18 or 19 years that I've been here, probably the biggest homecoming crowd that we've seen at the game. And when there's other sporting events going on at the same time, you had volleyball and men's soccer going on at the same time, there's different options. And so, every game was pretty packed, and ours was no different.
Yeah, certainly a capacity crowd on Farwell Field. It was a fun game for sure. Your group setting the tone almost immediately in that first quarter. 2 scores, Mal Chun gets things going. But just talk about the way your team was able to respond to that energy from that crowd.
Yeah, I think that we felt like we had a great game plan going in. We felt like we'd seen some things on film. But then to get the special teams pump block for a touchdown, in the first quarter, that really kind of set us up for where we wanted to be. We know that, when you're playing a triple option team, getting to 3 scores is really the magic number. If you can get a 3-score gap, they have to make a decision of either getting kind of outside their comfort zone and starting to throw the ball a little bit more, or they have to, speed up their process, their tempo a little bit. And, we knew there were going to be a lot of possessions in the game, and there really weren't. I think we had 7 total possessions on offense, maybe 8, and we need to take advantage of every single one of those. And so we were pretty focused on what we need to do. Great execution early on, and then we kind of continue that throughout the course of the game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, when I go back to that special teams touchdown, Nick Jaco involved. I know that he's been adjusting positions, and then Dominic Lewis to finish that play off. Once again, the special teams coming through, another special teams touchdown. Just talk about what that group has done for your team so far.
Yeah, we always pride ourselves on our special teams, and we're kind of in this weird space because nobody wants to kick to AJ, so our return teams have gotten a little bit different attention this year, maybe going for blocks more. We're starting to get those. But that's the second time that D-Lou's been involved in a punt return for a touchdown. Against Illinois College, he was part of the block group and set up a big block on the return. I actually think D's probably one of the best special teams players in the conference. If he's not an all-conference special teams player, I'll be the one fighting and yelling for it. Now that he's got a kind of a touchdown to hang on, that made me get it a little bit closer. But we didn't have to punt on Saturday, so that team didn't get much work. Kickoff team only got 1 rep, the kickoff return team only got 1 rep. So you really had to look at the punt return and the kickoff team, and their kickoff return team had a little bit of success against us a couple times, but we were able to rally. And I do think that our punt block team is one of the best in the conference.
Josh Gaska, his most passing yards here this season, I think it might be his most career-wise, 262 passing yards, 20 for 28. What did you make of his game and targeting 10 different receivers overall in the contest?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about our offense right now is, we as a coaching staff are talking about, hey, we don't really have a guy that's getting huge numbers in the passing game. Are we doing something wrong? And it's like, No, we're doing it right. We're spreading it out all over the place. Like you said, 10 different guys getting catches. I thought that one of the things that Josh is extremely efficient. He took what the defense was giving. I think there's times even where I'm sitting there kind of cringing because I want him to throw it deeper. Then I see, a guy running downfield a little bit late or something like that. But he's taking the first downs and moving the sticks and doing it like that. And he's just really good about understanding the feel of the game and making sure that we are getting the ball in the hands of our playmakers and giving a lot of opportunities for guys to make those plays. And I think that our wide receiving core is probably underrated a little bit by those that are watching the league just because we don't put up those big gaudy numbers. But we're number one in completion percentage. We're number one in yards per attempt. And so I'm going to take those numbers over worrying about volume and trying to throw the ball 50 times a game. He's just doing a tremendous job that way.
One receiver in particular, Langston Metoyer, his biggest day so far, 7 receptions, 113 yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. How big of a game is that for him to really build on that as the year goes on?
Yeah, and he's been a 100-yard receiver before, so, we know what we've got in Langston. He's the X receiver in our offense, so there are times that based on coverages, if they're going to have an overhang in a corner or safety to the backside of a trips formation, he's not going to get a lot of touches. If they try to overload to the front side of the route concept like they did this week, that's going to open up some things for him. And so, Langston's always ready. He is probably one of the most improved players we've had over the freshman year to this year, a 4-year window of just tremendous growth and development. And his confidence and Josh's confidence in throwing the ball to him is very high. And if teams are going to put extra guys over by AJ and T Land, it's going to open up opportunities for him. And as long as we take advantage of those, it'll be really good for us.
Defensively, so many players with big days as your group shuts out the Knox Prairie Fire. You only allow 8 first downs overall in the game. Albin Rulandu with interception, his first of his career, and then 3 sacks overall. How big is that for this group?
Yeah, I think it was great for with Coach Gonzaga to get his first shutout as a Forester. I think that our players, we know what we need to do to stop the triple. We've done pretty good at it the last couple of years, and I think they were bought into it. We did things a little bit differently this year, and the physicality with which our defense played was truly standout. The defensive line was tenacious. They were violent. You saw our secondary, Trent Burrell, a couple times coming up and sticking guys. And I think that what, the thing I was most excited about is that our guys really committed to what we asked them to do, even if it meant that they didn't get to make the play on that particular play. And then when it was their turn to make the play, they were still where they were supposed to be to make it. And so I think that we saw, just great discipline, great tenacity. The defensive tackles that we have, Donovan Plummer, Michael Kelly, Jalen Johnson, Marino Marola, Kyle Shalati, like those 5 guys, they were special on Saturday. I know that Jalen ended up with a pretty big stat line of 7 tackles and 2 sacks. Michael Kelly had a big knockdown on a pass play and a couple TFLs. And so those guys really created the solution. Because Knox has a really big offensive line. We were probably giving up about 40 pounds per guy on the tackles, and then we're probably getting about 60 pounds, their offensive tackles versus our defensive ends. And so for our guys to go a whole game as violent as they did with the knockback that they were getting, I was really pleased with that.
One of your captains defensively, Thomas DeCesaro, with 9 tackles overall, but it's also like the little things that he does in the game. If you can speak about how dynamic he is and that energy he brings to the group.
Yeah, he's probably the most vocal of our 4 captains, despite being the youngest. All the other captains are seniors, and he's probably the most vocal. A guy that really, this can be taken one of 2 ways, and I mean this in a positive way. Wears his emotions on his sleeve. Football means a ton to Thomas. And he brings other guys to that same level with him. I do think that his ability to dissect and watch film and see things like that allows him to make up for maybe where the measurables aren't there. He's not the tallest, he's not the fastest, but he might be the best. And so what he does, I think he gets a lot of that from his film production, his commitment to excellence. And those are the things that when you're looking at captains, those are the kind of guys you want to see. You want to see guys that do the extra, that go above and beyond, set that example, and then are not afraid to show their passion and bring other players with them to that level, and he's somebody who does that very well.
Your group will be headed to the road to Lawrence, a Viking team, headed over to the Banta Bowl over there in Appleton, Wisconsin. How do you get your group ready for this road trip?
Yeah, it's a shorter road trip. It's not an overnight like our trip out to Cornell was, but it is a day trip. And so for us, it's that early morning wake up. It's a little bit earlier kick. It's a noon kick up there, and so our guys just have to be prepared. It's the simple things: getting a good night of sleep, being rested when you get on the bus, getting up there, stretching out the legs, getting ready. We're going to do everything we need to do. It's another game for us. another opportunity to go 1-0. And so as long as we prepare well this week, we should be fine. Our guys are not going to take any opponents lightly. And I think that the biggest thing is it's about how we prepare and what we do and our standards, not about what the opponent is. And that's the same every single week for us. And as long as we keep that focus, we should continue to improve throughout the entire season.
One last question for you. You're also able to get a lot of players involved in that homecoming game. How does that continue to build their confidence as they continue to build some reps?
Yeah, it just continues to prove that we have more depth right now than we've probably had during my coaching career here. The roster buildup, when you're seeing guys like, Zach Wren coming in and Diego Rodriguez and having production on offense and Marina Marola on defense and just Albin, again, another guy who's a senior but is, maybe not in the starting lineup and is a guy who's making plays and, getting the interception. It went across the end zone, but we know it got called back. And, it just shows guys are paying attention, preparing at those levels. But a lot of those guys have gotten experience on special teams. They've gotten experience in other ways through the years, and hopefully this is one of those nuggets that continues to feed their motivation because they know more opportunities are coming, and they know that if we get those opportunities and play well at the beginning of the games, they'll have those chances. That's why we bring them to our away games. That's why they're at our home games. We don't put them up in the bleachers. We want them dressed and ready to go for any action that may come their way.
All right, Forester fans, that's going to wrap up Week 6 of the Coaches Show. The Foresters back in action next Saturday at Lawrence, a 12 o'clock kickoff against the Lawrence Vikings.